Could you be my mom? Just once. Those words landed like a snowflake and hit me like a thunderclap. I stood there, stunned, unsure if I'd really heard that from the little boy in front of me. The Christmas lights around the park twinkled like tiny stars. Somewhere nearby, a brass band was softly playing Silent Night. Children laughed. Parents called out names. Sleigh bells jingled in the cold air. But all I could hear was that voice. The boy was maybe 6, brown curls poking out from under a knit beanie. His cheeks were rosy from the chill. His gloves mismatched, and the zipper on his coat half broken. He clutched a paper reindeer, probably made at one of the craft stalls, and looked up at me with wide, hopeful eyes. I hadn't spoken to a child like this in years, not outside boardrooms, not in real life. "Excuse me," I managed, my voice softer than I'd heard it in months. He straightened up, suddenly a little nervous. "Just today? You don't have to be forever," he added quickly, as if that would make it easier. "I just want to know what it feels like, Eli." From across the path, a voice barked, "I told you not to run off." Eli winced, like he already knew he was in trouble. A man jogged over, early 30s, scruffy beard, work jacket worn at the collar. He had the kind of strength that comes from real labor, lifting tools, wood, maybe heartbreak, not weights at a gym. His eyes flicked toward me, wary but polite, then locked on Eli. "I told you. Don't run off," he said, kneeling beside the boy. "I didn't run. I walked," Eli muttered. The man gave him a look that said he wasn't buying it. "Apologize," he ordered. "Sorry, ma'am," Eli said softly. I waved it off gently, still trying to process everything. The man stood and introduced himself. "Look, I'm sorry." He's curious, and sometimes a little too brave for his own good. No harm done. I studied him, the calloused hands red from the cold, the quiet presence of someone you might not notice in a crowd, but can't look away from once you do. "I'm Caleb," he said awkwardly. "This is Eli." "I'm Vivian," I replied, then almost said my last name, but stopped. "Not here. Not now." Eli tugged at Caleb's coat. "Vivian's just fine." She didn't say no, Papa. Caleb's face flushed deeper than the cold could explain. "Eli, be careful." I chuckled, surprised by how warm it felt, like something cracked inside my chest. "All right, mister," Caleb said with a sigh. "We're going to finish that cocoa. Remember?" Caleb added. Eli looked back at me one last time, grinning so wide his face almost split. "You really look like someone who could be a mom." And then they walked away, boots crunching on the snow. I stood frozen, like a snow globe version of myself, while the world buzzed on around me. "Would you both like to walk with me?" I asked, voice faltering then steadying. "Just a little," Caleb said, surprised. Eli's grin grew wider. "Yes." Caleb hesitated, then nodded. "Sure, why not?" We walked together, not quite in sync, but not apart. I slowed to match Eli's short strides. He told me about his paper reindeer, Captain Antlers. I asked. I paused, the wind tugging gently at my scarf. I whispered. We stopped by a vendor selling roasted chestnuts. Caleb bought a small paper bag and handed it to Eli, who promptly offered the first piece to me. Our hands brushed for a moment. "Thank you," I said softly. "Mamas say, thank you." "Nice," Eli beamed. Caleb let out a soft, awkward laugh. "He's usually not this forward." "No," I said. "He's just honest." We reached the town square, where a towering Christmas tree glowed gold and silver. Families gathered, snapping photos. Carolers singing. I crouched beside Eli. "You picked a beautiful place to ask a big question," I whispered. He leaned in. "You looked lonely. And my papa says lonely people carry heavy hearts." "Just until we passed the big tree." I nodded. "Just until the tree." So we walked, 3 figures beneath the falling snow, an unlikely trio. A woman who forgot how to feel. A man who forgot how to trust. And a child who remembered what both of them needed most. Not answers, but connection. And one question whispered in winter that would echo through all our lives. "Could you be my mom? Just once?" Some scars aren't visible, but they bleed just the same. The sun dipped behind the trees, but the world shimmered gold. From a distance, we looked like family. I walked silently beside Eli and Caleb, my heels crunching softly on the snow-dusted pavement. My hand still tingled where Eli had held it. Caleb said little. Caleb stayed standing. I tucked my gloved hands in my coat pockets, unsure what to say. I'd given speeches to thousands, shut down billion-dollar deals with one glare. But here, I looked at him, brows raised. Is that how I seem? Like someone trying to fix a problem? He exhaled, almost laughing. People like you don't usually stop for people like us. People like you. He continued. People who patch holes in ceilings, sell tools by day, dreams by night, just trying to keep the lights on. I was quiet, then said without thinking, "Do you know what I did this morning?" Caleb glanced at me. "Let me guess. Closed a deal, fired someone, bought a building." I smiled faintly. That's what people say when they're afraid of someone who still feels. I looked at him then, not as a stranger, but as someone who understood. Not her money, not her name, but the ache behind her spine. "I don't know what you saw earlier," Caleb said, glancing down at Eli, busy making snowballs. "But my son gets ideas, and sometimes they break him. He's not like other kids." His voice dropped. He doesn't remember where he came from. He just remembers who stayed. My breath caught. Caleb sat beside Eli, one hand resting gently on his shoulder. "I found him when he was 3 days old, in a basket wrapped in a blanket with a note that said, 'Please don't hate her.'" Snow seemed to still around us. "I was 26, he whispered. Just laid off from a design firm. No backup plan, no family. Just me, a busted truck, and a mortgage I couldn't keep up with. I didn't know the first thing about babies. I burned formula once. Used duct tape on diapers. I smiled despite myself, but I couldn't walk away. Something about that tiny face. It looked like it had already been let down enough. I swallowed hard. My throat ached in a way I hadn't expected. "You don't have to explain why you care," Caleb said gently, "but I need you to understand what caring costs." His words landed heavy. Caleb crouched beside him. "No, bud. We're just remembering things." "Good things," Caleb hesitated. I answered first. "Things that helped us become who you see today." Eli tilted his head. "Then they weren't bad. Just hard." Caleb looked at his son, then me, quietly said, "He doesn't forget words like that. You just gave him something he'll carry." I met his eyes. "So did you." A child with no memory of birth. A man who didn't know how to be a father, but became one anyway. And a woman who'd buried her heart beneath titles and towers came together in something that looked suspiciously like family. If you're new here and enjoy deep emotional storytelling filled with meaning, healing, and hope, hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a story that might stay with you a lifetime. Thank you for watching. Thank you for feeling. And above all, thank you for believing in the power of kindness and love. Until next time, take care of your heart and take care of each other.